Baby, ya yo me enteré, se nota cuando me ve. Ahí donde no has llegado, sabes que yo te llevaré. Y dime qué quieres beber, es que tú eres mi bebé. Y de nosotros, ¿quién va a hablar si no nos dejamos ver?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my top 10 positional lists for every position in baseball. Today, I'm going over second base, which is it's a pretty decent position. It was a tough position to rank, but I got a ranking that I'm pretty happy about, and hopefully you guys can see where I'm coming from. Yeah, let's get right into it. Obviously, before we start, I'm just going to, again, go over what I am using. Sample sizes that are pretty much weighted for recency and plate appearances, 14%, 29%, and 57%. By years, it's 2018 to 2020. Unless they missed a year, then it'll just be their last 3 years dating back to only 2017. So I won't use 2016. Obviously, I'm using walk rate, strikeout rate, WRC plus, DRC plus, steamer WRC plus, xWOBA, base running per 650, and adjusted defense, which will all be on a graphic as usual. As for the defensive formula, it's just OAA 10.75. So you're putting it on a run scale, and then you're taking the non-range aspects from DRS and UZR and averaging them. DRS and UZR can both be found on Fangraphs. OAA is found on Baseball Savant. Obviously, there's a positional adjustment added in there. For second base, average defender is going to be right around 2.1 at second base. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, starting off the honorable mentions, there's actually 7 in today's video. So, there's quite a bit. Cesar Hernandez, he's the second baseman for Cleveland. He just misses out on the top 10 barely. Next is going to be the Dodgers second baseman, Gavin Lux. Main thing that pushes him out of the top 10 is a little bit of sample size, and he really hasn't been that good thus far, but he certainly has the potential to be top 10. He's a top prospect. He's really good. Next, Gene Segura for the Phillies. He also just misses the top 10, and he honestly could be there, but he only has 239 innings at short, which kind of pushes him down. We just have to see, pretty much is what I'm saying. Next honorable mention is the Tigers second baseman Jonathan Scope. Also just misses out on the top 10. Some peripherals. He's a base runner and he's an above average defender. He just kind of misses out. The next guy is the second baseman for the Blue Jays, Marcus Semien. I really could see him in the top 10. It was super hard to leave him out of the top 10, honestly, but I really don't know if he's going to have good or bad defense or what. It's just so tough. So I think leaving him in the honorable mention for now is fine. He might move back to shortstop after this year. Who knows? He might stay at second base. But even if he does, we'll have a season of sample size to go off of at that point. Next, Nico Horner for the Cubs. Kind of similar to Gavin Lux. He's shown he can be good. He's actually a really good defender. He could probably make an argument for him being top 10, but he just barely misses out. And Tommy Edman also kind of in that boat. He's actually been pretty good, but he's got peripherals. I know he's a good defender, but he also just misses out on the top 10. Numbers 8 to 17 on this list are like all super close. But yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the top 10. Coming in as the number 10 second baseman in baseball, the Angels second baseman, David Fletcher. Fletcher is pretty solid. I count that guy. He does not strike out, and he's pretty decently disciplined. An 8.1 walk rate and a 10.4 K rate, so he's very disciplined. His defense is a little bit overrated, but it's still very good. 6.1 adjusted defense per 1250, obviously well above average. He's also only projected a 92 WRC plus by Steamer, but he could easily outperform that. He has a 102 DRC plus and a 106 WRC plus, which is kind of what pushes over some of the guys on the honorable mention, in all honesty. It's that his WRC plus and DRC plus are both above average, and a lot of those guys are so close. Fletcher being at 10 is definitely something I feel happy about. Coming in at number 8, the Padres second baseman, Jake Cronenworth. Now, some people are going to say he only played, he had a very small sample size, and he does not have a great sample size. But last year he was very good. I mean, he had a Rookie of the Year worthy season. A 125 WRC plus and a 116 DRC plus, both very good. If he does regress, he could very well regress. He has a 100 WRC plus projected by Steamer next year, which definitely is something good. If he has a 100 WRC plus with the defense he plays at second base, which is very good, 10.2 adjusted defense per 1250 in 2000. 2020. He's a well above average player, and he's definitely a top 10 second baseman. So, like I said, all he needs to be is average, which is what his medium outcome is projected at. And he had well above average peripherals last year in his rookie year. So I don't see a huge problem with putting Cronenworth in the top 10. Coming in as the number 8 second baseman in baseball, the second baseman for the Pittsburgh Pirates, Adam Frazier. Frazier is one of the only bright spots on that team, like Stallings was at catcher. Frazier is pretty good. He is not a great hitter. He only comes in at a 97 WRC plus, and Steamer projects him only at a 93 WRC plus for next year. But at this point, Frazier might be the best defensive second baseman in baseball. He is really good. Comes in at 15.8 adjusted defense for 1250. That is very good. And that defense definitely pushes up his value a lot. So while he's a slightly below average hitter, he's a well above average defender. And it pushes him up to that number 8 spot. Next up, the number 7 second baseman in the MLB, the newly acquired second baseman for the Milwaukee Brewers, Colton Wong. I wanted Wong for the Cubs so bad because then the Cubs could, send Horner down to AAA for a year where he could work on his hitting and stuff. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. He went to the Brewers, and it's a great signing for them. It's super cheap. He's got like 2 or 3 years out on the contract, I want to say. He just barely beats out Frazier. It's really close. He's got a 94 DRC plus, a 90 Steamer WRC plus, and a 12.5 adjusted defense for 1250. So he's also up there in terms of defense. And then he's a great base runner. 6.5 base running runs per 650. That is like really good. He's just a very good second baseman. Number 7 is a great spot for Wong, and if he has a strong 2020, he could obviously find himself higher. Next up, the second baseman for the Houston Astros, Jose Altuve. Altuve, prior to 2020, had some pretty good years. He had a 126 DRC plus in 2018 and 119 in 2019, which outperformed his WRC plus by quite a bit both years. He was already due for some regression. It was very surprising the amount he regressed last year. Steamer projects him at a 114 WRC plus next year, which I think is a good place to project him at. And I think he will definitely and can definitely hit that. He has a 107 DRC plus and a 118 WRC plus. So obviously, he's overperformed a little bit, but he's still pretty good. He's not that good of a defender. 1.6 adjusted defense per 1250, below average base runner as well. But he's a pretty high volume guy, which is kind of what puts him above Colton Wong and Frazier. Yeah, Altuve definitely will have a bounce back year in 2020. He showed it in the playoffs too, and I don't usually like to use the playoffs, but he did have a great playoffs and he finished strong. So Altuve is definitely someone who's going to bounce back in 2020 and look for a strong season from him. Coming in at number 5, and this might be a bit of a surprise to some people, but just hear me out. The Reds second baseman, Mike Moustakas, comes in at 10.3 adjusted defense per 1,250 innings, which is very strong. Yeah, it's a relatively small sample size. There's nothing saying he can't and won't keep that up. Steamer does only project him at a 104 WRC plus. However, his DRC plus is at 115 and his WRC plus at 110. I would probably say he's more around 110 than 104 because I don't really see why he would be at a 104 WRC plus. I mean, obviously, it could definitely happen, but I think he'll be closer to 110, 115. That definitely pushes him over Altuve just because of defense. Moustakas is definitely someone I feel comfortable with the number 5 spot. Coming in at number 4, the second baseman for the Tampa Bay Rays, Brandon Lowe. He's not that good of a defender, but he's a pretty good hitter. A really good hitter, in fact. A 116 DRC plus. Steamer projects him at a 111 WRC plus, but he could definitely overperform that. I would probably project him more around like 115, 120. 137 WRC plus, so he has gotten lucky. And he's due for a bit of regression. Like, he had a 150 WRC plus in 2020, and that is definitely not the player he is, but he still can have very strong offensive seasons. He's also a great base runner, 8.5 base running runs per 650. He just barely goes over Moustakas. They honestly might even be interchangeable. But number 4 for Brandon Lowe is something I am definitely happy with. Now we're getting into the top 3, and starting off the top 3 is the second baseman for the Atlanta Braves, Ozzie Albies. Albies, really good. He's a really strong defender. He's a pretty strong hitter as well, and he's a strong base runner, so he's pretty complete all around. He's also going to be a pretty decent volume guy as well. In 2018 to 19, he had 684 plate appearances and 702 plate appearances, respectively. In 2020, he was injured a bit, and it showed he had a little bit of a down year. He had a 103 WRC plus. Basically, he regressed from 2019, but he was still good, and he had a 110 DRC plus still. So definitely someone who can bounce back and have a strong year. Everything pretty much places him right around a 110 WRC plus, and that combined with elite defense and very good base running, top 3, very, very good spot for Albies. It really amazes me how similar DJ LeMahieu and McNeil are. I mean, I did this with Real Muto and Grandal, but these two guys are like so close. It's insane. It's scary. McNeil 7.4 walk rate, LeMahieu 7.3, almost the same. McNeil 12.2 K rate, LeMahieu 12.5, almost the same. McNeil 137 WRC plus, LeMahieu 138, almost the same. McNeil 123 DRC plus, LeMahieu 124, almost the same. Exact same steamer WRC plus at 112. McNeil 344 XO, but to LeMahieu 364. So that's like the biggest difference thus far, and it's not even really that huge of a difference. McNeil negative 3.1 base running runs per 650, and LeMahieu negative 0.1. So that's a little bit of a difference as well. And then defense 8.8 for McNeil and 8.6 for LeMahieu. So again, almost the same. What really puts them apart is, well, I mean, LeMahieu pretty much has to lead in almost everything by a little bit, but he's also got a way larger sample size. He leads McNeil by about 400 plate appearances, and he's projected for about 40 more plate appearances by Steamer, so he's going to be a more high-volume guy. He's got a bigger sample size to stabilize things, and he leads by a little bit in like almost everything. So LeMahieu just barely edges out McNeil. It's clear to me where the point, if you have McNeil over LeMahieu, you're objectively wrong. But like, they are very close. McNeil is a pretty clear number 2, I think. LeMahieu, number 1, definitely. It's easy there. And McNeil 2, that's easy, but like I said, it's super, 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 super close. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Just a few side notes. Kevin Biggio, not going to be playing second base. I love Biggio. I wish he would have been. And then also Ketel Marte moving to center field because the Diamondbacks signed Cabrera. Otherwise, he would be in my top 5, probably higher. Both are so good. They're 2 of my favorite players in baseball. Again, I do hope you guys enjoyed. As always, let me know your thoughts, comments. Let me know your thoughts, comments, suggestions. I love suggestions. I've been getting a few suggestions recently, and I love it. I'm always open for that. It helps improve the videos. It helps improve the viewing experience for you guys, so that's great. Next up, I'll be ranking third baseman, so make sure you stay on the lookout for that. Go and watch my catcher first base videos if you haven't. Leave a like. Subscribe if you have not already. And until next time, I am Jason Hayward Stan.